What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. Today's video, we're taking a look at another Master League team featuring Mamoswine on the lead, my favorite Corebreaker in the Master League, and I'm trying out my new Xerneas that I built right after GoFest. Best one I could get. Wish it had a little bit more defense, but you know what? I guess beggars can't be choosers. And we got the Rayquaza here. Now, before we even start, I'm going to say that I'm using the Rayquaza I used in yesterday's video with Ancient Power, but I would 100% prefer to have Dragon Ascent on this team. So let's get into the battles here and see why Mamoswine is so good. Spoiler alert, it's got Ice and Ground coverage, and that makes it so good against the Steel Dragon meta that we've got here. So getting into the first game, we're going to have Mamoswine up against a Dragonite. You couldn't ask for a better lead, dude. The nice thing about this team is that it has a whole lot of play against all the dragons. It has a lot of play against Dialga, Dragonite, and basically every dragon, let's be honest. Now, the thing it doesn't have as much play against is Steel types. And you're going to be like, you know what? Maybe that was a bad call on my team building, but I wasn't seeing a whole ton of Steel types. It was like Dialga was about the only Steel type I was seeing, and Xerneas has close combat. I know that my Dragon, or my Rayquaza doesn't really have a whole ton of coverage into the Steels. Dragon Ascent, if I had it, would do a ton of damage, even if it's neutral. My opponent they've got Snarl, so I'm taking resisted damage here. I'm going to go for double close combat. This will take Switch or get both shields at this point, which my opponent shields up the first one. See if they're going to shield up the second one. It's a really awkward health range. I can't really farm down with my... I mean, I could farm down with my Rayquaza, but I have to shield a Play Rough, and if Mamoswine comes in to farm down, I am going to have to end up shielding two close combats most likely. So what I do here is I go ahead and I shield the first one. I'm assuming my opponent's going to get the two. It would make sense. So I immediately swap in and snipe with the Rayquaza, thinking that my opponent might get to a second one. I don't let them do it, and they come in with a Mewtwo, shields down. This is the perfect opportunity. Like, Mamoswine and Xerneas are so good at pulling shields, and Rayquaza just comes in and goes for Dragon Ascent on something, and it just wins. That's what I'm saying. Like, I would much prefer to have Dragon Ascent, especially when I get, you know, hit by a fairy or something, like a Xerneas in the back, and I've got a shield, and I'm like, well, let me just go for that Dragon Ascent. But it doesn't happen. My opponent concedes, knowing that they've lost the game, and that's a good game. Well played. First, I can't speak. Got the game here. We've got second game. We've got Dialga in the lead versus the Mamoswine. Now, the way I always do this is I go for either high horsepower or avalanche, and I always get it wrong. I'm 100% on wrong calls. I go for the bulldoze, or not the bulldoze. I go for the high horsepower, they shield it. I go for the avalanche, they no shield it every time, dude. I don't know what. I don't know how to properly call that. Maybe I'm just supposed to go for the high horsepower every time and just hope they don't shield it, because that would be great, you know. But I usually go for the move and then immediately pivot into my Xerneas, and that could be good or bad depending on if the opponent wants to dump the energy on that Iron Head. Now, I'm usually fine with them dumping an Iron Head into my Xerneas, but here they come in with a Zekrom and a Trainer. You have no shields. This Moonblast is going to hurt. Yep. Almost one-shots the Zekrom and going to be able to take it out with a Geomancy afterwards. See what the opponent's got in the back. They're going to come in with a Kyogre, and I've got Rayquaza on deck here, ready to deal with this thing. The Rayquaza is so good. Again, Rayquaza just with Dragon Ascent here would be so much better, because I could farm up for it. You know, I could just go for breaking swipes here, and that's fine. And that, you know, I mean... yeah, but who likes going for little damage when you could just one-shot something, right? So Breaking Swipe is going to put the Kyogre down into a farm range. I'm going to go for the second here because I believe that they're at a charge move, and I would rather keep the energy here. Not have to shield. I'd rather keep the health, rather, not shield. Mamoswine can come in with a shield, easily gets to an avalanche and takes out the Dialga, and that's going to be a good game. Once again, Mamoswine just coming in and just coming in clutch here with that coverage. Ice damage, really good right now, I think. And there's not a lot of people that are really respecting the Mamoswine right now. And here we go. We've got a game. You know, Kyogre, this person's clearly respecting Mamoswine, so I'm immediately going to go into my Xerneas here. But the thing is now, opponent's not swapping out. So they could have either another good answer to Mamoswine, or what is also just as likely, they have things in the back that are weak to Xerneas. So I am going to go for the Moonblast here, and I mean, I just want to get some damage off, honestly. I would love to just get this Kyogre out of here, but my opponent shields the Moonblast, which is kind of huge. So I have to let this go. I'm hoping that I live this, and I'm going to be able to get a move off with 1 HP. I'm going for the Moonblast. I think it does more damage because it's stab. Would be nice to get the attack drop here. Moonblast is going to connect, and at this point, the switch clock is almost reset. I come in with my Rayquaza. Opponent coming in with a Dialga. Going to go for the breaking swipe here. Looking for either a shield from a scared opponent, or looking for the attack drop and the ability to get them within avalanche range. Going to go for the avalanche here, but the opponent gets to the Iron Head before I can, so I'm going to shield it up because I know I can get to 2, and I can continue to farm, even though you know, they've got a shield, but I doubt they're going to double shield. They're not going to shield and then just let the Dialga go here, I feel. They're probably going to come in with the Kyogre here, try to farm me down, but that thing has got such low health that I can go for an avalanche and force that shield off of him right here and look to see what's going to happen now. So the opponent is now going to throw energy here, which is huge. That means we're not going to get the farm down that I was expecting them to get. And now my Rayquaza can come in, and they've got their own Rayquaza in the back, but because they swapped, my Rayquaza is going to be ahead on energy, and also it means I'm going to be able to get their turn before them. So Breaking Swipe, taking out their Rayquaza, and then Kyogre gets farmed down, and that is going to be a good game. Well played. Kyogre leads, dude. Those are painful. Mewtwo on the lead is another painful one that I don't really have a strong answer to on this team. So in this game, I decided to stay in, go for an avalanche right away, and see if I can pull an early shield from this opponent. And I mean, they've got loaded energy, and it's probably a double Legacy Mewtwo. But I've seen 2 Ice Beam Mewtwo's, and they both one-shot my Rayquaza today. So not a good time, trainers. Now I'm gonna take the Side Strike on the head here, and look to shield this one as we see. Oh my goodness, my brain is like, woo! Gonna get the avalanche off. There it is. On the CMP, the other word I was looking for, avalanche is gonna get the second shield, so I'm immediately gonna pivot into Rayquaza here and start doing Rayquaza things. Now, right here, Dragon Ascent would be great, wouldn't it, trainers? Yes, it would be, but I have Ancient Poggers. Not so poggers right now, but what I'm hoping I can do here is let my Xerneas sweep. So I'm going to let this go. Opponent is now within Moonblast range, I do believe. So if I can somehow catch a move or shield up and over farm, I might be looking good depending on what they have in the back. This is all pivotal upon what my opponent has in the back. So they're going to get to their Moonblast before I do. I'm going to shield this up because this is probably going to be one of the hardest hitting moves left in the game if the opponent's Mewtwo doesn't get to a Side Strike. So I'm going to max out on some energy here. I know that they're going to need at least 4 or 5 to get to the Moonblast next, so I'm going to go for 3. Going to take out their Xerneas, and you saw it. I tried to catch that Side Strike on my Mamoswine here. Unfortunately, the game was said no. So I know that they just threw all their energy, so I'm going to throw just a couple. I want to make sure they don't get there in like 4, because I always seem to whenever I, going to do it. So then the opponent has Yveltal in the back, and we're chilling. Now, I imagine they're probably going to try and throw right away, so I look to catch on my Mamoswine, and all I have to do now is get a Moonblast off. But what I do instead is I don't know how much damage any of these moves do, so I'm going to go for the close combat. Trainers, I don't know who wins CMP in this matchup. This is my first time using Xerneas. It does not do enough. Have to reach for the Moonblast. And I don't know. Let me know in the comments if Moonblast would have been enough, because I feel like a full if it would have been. I thought it wouldn't have been enough, but that's okay. We still take him out, and that's a good game. Well played. Just get your Yveltal out of here. Good thing I didn't play Mewtwo today. Stay hydrated, folks. Drink your water. It's good for you. We got Zacian in the lead in the next game. So what I do with the Zacian and the Xerneas leads is I tend to stay in and build up a bunch of energy. Hope that maybe they throw before I do, so I can see what their moveset is. But if they throw after I've gone for my Avalanche, I do decide to stay in. I do win CMP over the Zacian and the Xerneas, so I could have stayed in and thrown a second Avalanche to pull a shield, but my opponent going for the wild charges here, lowering their defense. This is actually going to allow my Xerneas to get a nice farm down if they decide not to swap out. And it's got enough energy right now that I think I'd rather not swap out, and they come in with Dialga. Excuse me, I'm going to go for the close combat here. Looking to hit it. They shield. Going to go for another close combat, and because they just swapped in, I'm going to try and see if there's a way for me to get to a third close combat before my opponent can get to the Iron Head. Going to go for the close combat, but it's a CMP tie. Unfortunately, not going to be able to get there. But, guess who can? Going for the high horsepower here on my... Oh my goodness, my brain just farted. On my Mamoswine, there it is. Goodness, I'm not cut out for the shoutcasting stuff. I do real good for like a solid chunk of time, and then my brain is just like, nope, you forget everything that's in front of you right now. Coming in with my Rayquaza against the Yveltal here. Could go for the Ancient Powers. Gonna end up going for an Ancient Power after my opponent swaps in and I wasn't able to react in time. I do throw the move here because I don't want them to get to another move of their own, but this basically ensures that their Yveltal has to throw on CMP in order to take out my Rayquaza because they were 3 away at the time. So Breaking Swipe is going to do some damage, lower the attack, and this should allow my Pumbaa, as I've nicknamed him, Mamoswine, can come in and farm down or get for the Avalanche, but I know that they weren't at enough energy for another move, so I just farmed down, and that's going to be a good game. Well played, trainer. Getting a really nice lead here with Giratina. The entire team has a lot of play here, but they swap into Mewtwo, and that's what makes it awkward, because now I still have no idea how to handle Mewtwo with this team, dude. There's nothing on my team that, like, deals with Mewtwo. It's all a team effort, so opponent's going to go for the energy here, and I'm going to let this go. So, guys, it's a Psy Strike, right? No, that's the Ice Beam. Absolutely decimates my Rayquaza, and now I don't have a Rayquaza anymore. That was just sad. But I'm going to come in here with my Mamoswine, and actually I'm going to look to farm here. And the reason why I look to farm here is because the Giratina is not going to come back in, so I at least get to see what their third Pokemon is, and I get to keep my Xerneas in the back for the Giratina, and they come in with a Dialga. Now, with my energy lead, they know I'm going to go for high horsepower. They may even think I'm going to bait here, but I got to go for the Avalanche here, trying to get the shield. They can't come in or expect to really appreciate the loaded Mamoswine with their Giratina, so they're going to have to shield these up here. So I don't think I get to another move here. The Dragon Breaths are going to take me out, but my opponent, not wanting to find out, goes for the Iron Head to take out my poor little piggy. And I'm going to come in with Xerneas here, and all I need to do is pop off with 2 charge moves. I need to be able to land a close combat or a Moonblast, so I'm going to shield up, and I'm going to go for Moonblast here in case they try to go for a catch. It would be kind of bad if they did, so I go for this Moonblast anyway against the Dialga because I just don't want them to catch a close combat on a Giratina. That would just be bad. So I'm going to go for the Moonblast here. I don't know how much damage a Shadow Ball does, and I'm going to find out. Trying to go for this Moonblast here. Almost KOs, but not quite. So what I have to do here is I am going to have to try and see if I can either farm down or get double close combat, or even better, because the opponent shouldn't have a charge move, I can just go straight for the close combat of the Moonblast here. Close combat I don't think would quite KO. It is very close, but I'm just going to go for the Moonblast to be safe. Opponent comes in with their Dialga, get farmed down by the Xerneas, and that's a good game. Very close one, too. Might have misplayed that, but then again, you know, Mewtwo is always a bag of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Speaking of good bags, though, get the really nice lead on the Rayquaza, and they safe swap into a Solgaleo. And like I said earlier, trainers, I don't have a whole lot of play here against Steel types, so I'm afraid of the Iron Head. Opponent goes for the Psychic Fangs, and I'm like, oh, of course. I always shield the baits. So I'm going to bait them back. And they shield, which is awesome. So I should be able to get to this high horsepower here, but they threw on 3, which means I know that this is just a Psychic Fangs. Should be able to go straight for the high horsepower here and either pull the second shield from my opponent or just about KO. This is going to hurt a lot. Let's see how much damage it does. Almost one-shots the Solgaleo. Rayquaza comes in, and opponent's Rayquaza is just in an awkward spot here. So I'm going to stay in with my Ray here. And what I'm going to look to do is just do what I can against this Dialga. And then I'm going to let my Xerneas come in. I'm assuming my opponent is going to have to throw energy here because I'm pretty sure I get to another Breaking Swipe before they can Dragon Breath me down here. So I do end up absorbing the energy, which is really nice. Their Dialga is super low, and they immediately come in with their Rayquaza, and I can just go for a couple Moonblasts here. I just can't take a Dragon Ascent. So, opponent might be running Dragon Ascent. I don't know. I think it was like 7 or 8 to the Dragon Ascent, so I'm going to be cognizant of that. I should be able to easily get to 2 Moonblasts here without them being able to get to a Dragon Ascent or a Dragon Ascent with a Breaking Swipe bait. So, going to safely shield at the Breaking Swipe. I know it's going to take 4 more Dragon Tails to get to the energy that would have made up for that Breaking Swipe bait. So, going to let the Moonblast go on 2, and then their Dialga comes in, was low on energy, going to go for the close combat, and we'll be able to take out this Dialga. Good game, trainer. Well played. Getting into the next battle here, we've got Mamoswine on the lead versus another Dialga. And we're chilling. So once again, I'm going to stay in. And the opponent decides to dip out. So that means that I can go for the Avalanche. They're going to still build up energy. And I'm probably going to come in with my Rayquaza if they decide to no shield this. But they do. Still coming in with Ray. And watch, it's going to be... I'm gonna shield this one because I'm like, it could be an Ice Beam. They go for a Psy Strike. And I'm like, okay, there's no way that this is an Ice Beam, right? So, going to go for the Breaking Swipe since they need 5 more to get to the next move if they're going to go for whatever move was, not a Psy Strike. Attack went down. They're in farm range. It's an Ice Beam. Look at that. Everybody's got the Ice Beam Mewtwo today. Not me, though. All right, so I'm going to come in with my Mamoswine and farm down, but my opponent is able to get to a Psystrike. I was hoping that I would get that farm down, but I need to save the shield for the Dialga, regardless of what it is. I have the energy to threaten the Dialga, and they come in with a Kyogre. No. There's no way, dude. There's no way. I come in with my Xerneas, and I'm going to just feel the pain. Opponent can just go for Surfs here. This is why Xerneas does not do so well against Kyogre, because the damage that Kyogre puts out, the Dialga has so much HP, it doesn't even matter, dude. The close combat, they're just going to save the shield for their Kyogre here and just farm down everything. That's all they have to do. That's it. Mamoswine's doing nothing at this point. Dialga just takes it on the chin and is like, you know what? It's been a great time, man, but Kyogre's coming back in here to destroy your face, and that's going to be a good game. I get no way out of that, dude. That was it. The Kyogre in the back was just nail in the coffin. Nothing I could even do. And speaking of nails in the coffin, there's a Melmetal on the lead, and this is really awkward because it could have Iron Bash, could have Rock Slide, could have Superpower. Who knows? So I'm going to go for the high horsepower right away, hoping maybe they call a bait. A full HP Melmetal may not think they need to shield this, but they do. And this is getting really awkward because, once again, I don't have that much play here against Steel types, you know, regrettably. But that was the call I made in this meta at the time, was that the only Steel type I wanted to worry about was Dialga. So if I was like, you know what, if I see another Steel type, I'll just do my best. You know, I realized that, yes, Metagross would decimate this team. Didn't see too many of those. I don't think I saw any Metagross with this team all day, which was kind of nice, but I certainly saw, you know, a few Kyogres, some Ice Beam Mewtwo's, so you can't say that I had easy mode today, because it sure didn't feel like it. Thankfully, went overall positive with the team. Able to get to a close combat, unfortunately. Wish I had the Moonblast, but was just a little bit short of it. Close combat, opponent keeping very nice count. Obviously, they can't, you know, they can't shield that if they wanted to, but going to be able to hopefully get to a move, but unfortunately, opponent gets there first. So I'm going to shield this up. Opponent hits me with the Psystrike, gets shielded. I'm going to go for a little bit more farm, thinking maybe they didn't have as much energy, but no, they had basically 2 Psystrikes. I completely lost count. Puma gets clapped. I should have just thrown the move right away. They go for the Melmetal swap in. I'm going to throw the high horsepower. How much damage does it do? Not enough. Opponent also has energy for a Rock Slide. I am crumbling into shambles very quickly here, everybody. This battle is not going my way at all. The opponent still has a full HP Pokemon in the back. I don't know what it is, but I wish I had Dragon Ascent. Because whatever it is, I have a chance. They come in with Lugia, and I'm like, nah, you know what, trainer? You can have this one too. It's like having that Kyogre in the back in the last game. There's absolutely nothing I can do. Just some games are just not winnable. The opponent had the right Pokemon. They just played it well. You know, my Mamoswine did not get the alignment I needed it to get with that Lugia. Instead, it found everything else and paid dearly for it with its life, but that's okay. Last game against my buddy Napalm Rage, a fellow Ultra League specialist. We match up here in the Master League, and he's got that wonderful Bloody Mewtwo in the lead, so let's see how this goes. Going to overfarm by a bit, both of us. We CMP tie, and a Psystrike is going to hurt, but, I mean, this is not a comfortable matchup for me, so I'm hoping that Xerneas and Rayquaza can make some magic happen in the back. Typically, I've seen the opponents, when they play Mewtwo in the lead, more often than not, there's a Dialga back there, maybe another Dragon, so I'm kind of hoping that maybe my backline has more play here. Xerneas is going to counter swap against this Dialga and do a very nice job. We get the attack drop, which is insane, because now that means that I can much more comfortably tank this Iron Head, and, I mean, it still hurts, but I overfarmed by too much. I should have only gone for 1 and then thrown the move. I wanted to have multiple moves, or at least close to it, but I absolutely overestimated or underestimated the amount of energy this Dialga had. So I'm going to throw the Moonblast, try and avoid the debuff here, and then the opponent comes back in with the Mewtwo. This close combat is going to get ripped off here. Does the opponent shield it? They do. Going to come in with the Mamoswine, trying to get to a move, but the opponent CMP ties me. And I'm like, you know what? It's fine. He can have it. Rayquaza now will hopefully be able to farm down and be able to take care of whatever's in the back. But once again, Mewtwo it's like Swampert, dude. It always has a move, and it drives me crazy. And in the back, the opponent's got a Rhyperior with Mud Slap. And if I play this carefully, I have a chance at winning. Going for Breaking Swipe, and the opponent shields it. I know that I'm kind of close to a move on my Xerneas. No, I'm not. I'm not at all. I threw all my energy at that Mewtwo. Who am I kidding? But they're going to go for the Breaking Swipe. Maybe not running Rock Wrecker gives me a chance here, and Rayquaza is going to go for another Breaking Swipe, and after those debuffs, I'm looking to try and catch the next move, but the opponent, showing great patience, hangs on to their energy, but now is forced to farm down my Xerneas to have a chance to win the game, and Xerneas, because of those 2 attack debuffs, is going to get the move off, and close combat takes out the Rhyperior. Excellent game, Napalm. Thank you, dude, for that game. That was a good fun. I hate Rhyperior. I have yet. That was the first Rhyperior I beat. Now that was a 3-2 in that set there, because that was the last set I did today. Got me into the 2400s with this team. Really, really strong team. Again, you kind of have to dance around the steals a bit, but super strong Corebreaker and Mamoswine really puts opponents in an uncomfortable position if they're not building their team to deal with it. And Rayquaza and Xerneas are just OP. So thank you all so much for watching, everybody. I'm going to catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.